Hello ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to an Access show today, taking a look at the drama, the saga, the possible scam of Day of Dragons. You may have seen this hyped up, particularly if you're a survival fan. Amongst big YouTubers, they have been hyping this up for the last month or so, and it looks fantastic. This game is going to be similar to the Isle. You'll be able to control these dragons, going around environments, fighting each other, hatching and growing your own baby dragons. There's going to be over 30 different types. Absolutely amazing, and it all got funded via Kickstarter recently. Initially only wanting $12,000, they managed to reach $533,000 with a quite funny combination of crowdfunding helped out by YouTubers spreading the word on what they thought was a legitimate game, and surprisingly Harry Potter. So what's going on now? Why has IGP, one of the biggest survival and pretty much dedicated YouTubers to games like these, why has he done a truth about Day of Dragons video? It's got all the information and details, so if you want more about this or you're a backer of Day of Dragons and somehow you've not seen the news, go and watch his video. It's filled with facts and information for you to decide and judge whether or not Day of Dragons is a scam. I'm not going to go over all the stuff that he's more or less covered, maybe just the bullet points. More, I really want to cover the whole asset or the whole idea of trusting YouTubers. I've even been guilty of promoting this game. I put it in my top 6 survival games that featured you controlling creatures. But that's definitely the angle that I want to take a look at today. How can you trust any game nowadays when so much of it is an asset flip, as they say? And is asset flipping actually that bad? I do want to examine the other side of it. IGP does give a compelling case here with lots of good information, lots of truth, lots of facts that he's found out from other people and investigated by himself. But there is still the other side, that it's pretty common in game development to reuse assets. So let's dive into all of that. Let's go. It's the Jade Plays Games Access show. So Day of Dragons, really hyped and excited. The first I heard about this was through one of my loyal ratbags telling me he's hyped about this game, it's looking great. It came out of nowhere. Supposedly you're going to be delivering lots of these dragons that you'd be able to control. You'd be able to buy them for priced DLC eventually when the game come out. But the game would come with a set amount of dragons for us to use. The developer just needed some actual proper game artists to work on the dragons, as he wanted much better quality dragons. Now when I first heard about this and I'd seen a few videos by other YouTubers like Amphomia, I presumed they had an in-game artist, an in-game developer that was going to be remodeling the dragons or redoing it. But as it stands out, the money for the Kickstarter is to pay actual proper artists to come on board the project. And again, that's not necessarily such a bad thing. This is what Kickstarters are designed for, to kickstart a project. To gather the people around you and bring them in-house to hopefully start working on your dream game, your dream project. But things have started to slowly unravel. Not only is it the dragons that are just simply store-bought off the Unreal Engine, but biomes too. Again, not such a terrible thing, it does happen, and I'm going to show you some games that have famously used lots of assets. But the going is that this developer has spent 2 years working on this game. Well, actually that ends up being a bit of a lie. He spent 2 years thinking and learning how to make games rather than actually working precisely on this one project. And for sure, I think that's one avenue that IGP has maybe not explored fully, that assets aren't necessarily always a terrible thing. Buying assets off a store gives everyone a chance to see what the game would look like if it can get its development finished and done. But of course it does mean for the most part apply to games that are really just conning people. They reuse the same assets over and over again in very cheap made games, trying to hopefully just coin some sort of living. Even PUBG has used assets in the past. When it first came out, it was using assets that you could readily buy on the Unreal Store. And that game was huge even before it came out and met its success. But look at all the other work that's gone into PUBG. Look at all the other aspects that have been worked on by proper artists, proper engineers, proper game devs. There are so many examples that I've covered in early access of games using assets and then towards their development cycle, towards the end, have replaced them assets with their own actual manufactured items. Another key factor that I'm learning from my ratbags this morning is that if you have a license to use this stuff, you still have to proclaim that it is in fact a license or it is other people's work. Claiming it's your own work can land you in serious trouble, and that's what a lot of people have got into trouble in the past for, not letting people know their assets they've used from stores. It's not just biomes and parks or even dragons and creatures, even wholesale building systems have been reused. Ark Survival Evolved's building system was life starting out as an actual Unreal asset. It then got worked on by the devs, revamped and added a whole lot more to make it look more like what we come to expect from Ark. Of course, this was way before Alpha even started for Ark, and no one has ever really seen what it originally looked like in game. So it's not uncommon, and you can't call someone a scam artist just for using assets. You can only use them or call them a scam artist if they don't do anything above beyond showing assets. And I think that's really what IGP is really concerned about in his video. Not only is it wholesale using assets, he's basically outlining that the game developer behind this whole project has not added any significant coding or any real input of himself. He's simply just put the assets together to make some sort of tech demo, and that's what's really pushed on the sales of Day of Dragons on Kickstarter. Remember, this game is coming out into early access in November. And this is probably a little bit of a red flag. You absolutely should have some sort of input into these assets or tech demos. It should not just be wholly assets. It should be some functional ability from the developer himself. So like I said, it's got loads of information, loads of things that are just quite frankly disappointing. The developer and the moderators in their Discord are apparently banning people for asking certain questions. All in all, it's not a good look for a game that has just made $500,000, and most of that, well, if you believe the YouTubers, most of that has come from their coverage. So now we're in a position where YouTubers have sold possibly a scam. Anthomia loves creature games. He's really championed games like The Isle. When he's not busy catching paedophiles, he's definitely putting time and effort into the games he loves. So he's been really excited by Day of Dragons. He's primarily been the biggest YouTuber that's promoting it. And there's nothing wrong with that. We can all see something and believe, yeah, this is going to be great. Interestingly though, the developer, when faced with some tough questions, stated to IGP that he'd rather talk to a supporter like Anthomia or Syntac or someone else, rather than someone that maybe has got some more information. And that is definitely another huge red flag. If you've got nothing to hide and no worries about your confidence in your product, your game, you will be able to talk to anyone about it. And in fact, it'd be even better to talk to someone who's skeptical. This pushes away any fears and any worries about a game or a situation if you can confidently talk to people that are detracting from it. So there's two sides, and you can see me veering from one to the other. When you watch the whole video by IGP, you're left with no doubt that this game has had some shoddy development and there's lots of promises not fulfilled yet. It's not really a complete hit piece. He stresses he really does want the best for this game, and he hopes that the game is going to come out for all its fans. Likewise, he says not to go and hassle developer, and I certainly won't get as many views with this video, but I stress the same thing, don't bother doing it. But it does raise that question of YouTubers getting behind projects because we're all so thirsty for views and being the first person to show something off. Is that creating more and more situations where you just can't trust YouTubers anymore? Now, before I get a bunch of Anthomia fanboys start harassing me and saying I'm being out of order, I don't think he's a bad dude at all, and I don't think he's done anything terribly wrong. But definitely the overhype generated by us as YouTubers can definitely cause lots of problems. Fingers crossed the game does come through, and Anthomia will be the primo numero content creator behind it, and he helps the game achieve its success. He's not the only one though, the list is pretty substantial and big, with lots of videos being shared from other content creators in the Discord trying to drum up that hype and that support. I don't think this tweet is going to age very well. Recently, a marketer in SEO basically come across some information, and pretty much Kotaku ran with an article stressing that Day of Dragons wasn't hugely successful just to YouTubers. In fact, it was due to Harry Potter. Harry Potter Unite is a huge mobile game. It's got hundreds of millions of players worldwide. Pretty much Pokemon Go, but for Harry Potter fans. This guy Thomas Badu claims that because of interest in an event in Harry Potter, Day of Dragons, it accidentally gave this Kickstarter much more attention than we would have normally seen. As he points out, as the campaign goes, the Harry Potter related traffic explodes, the project keeps increasing the amount raised to end up just north of $500,000. Not bad for a video game without a video. It's a tough life being a YouTuber. You always want to share good stuff, and when other people come along and claim that they've discovered it, or particularly if people copy your work, it's happened time and time again, even to people like Anthomia. with other YouTubers copying what they do. And for sure, even just finding something unique and different and being the first to really spread the word about it, that can take a bit of a hit when people want to come along and start saying that you're not. Harry Potter and riding the game's coat's tail had nothing to do with this. Credit my YouTube friends and word of mouth for the spread of a wonderful idea. You 100% made your credibility look like dog shit by acting like you know anything about SEO. I have many close friends with a combined audience of millions who took time out their day to cover this game. The Gaming Beaver, Every Night's a Riot, Syntac, Meaty Lock and more deserve credit, not this Harry Potter ego-inspired blue check mark of authority post. Credit them. Eek! That is maybe not going to age that well, dude. Particularly if the game does turn out to be a big gaping scam. All jokes aside, it's really hard and I am sort of going deep into it, but it just illustrates the point about YouTubers overhyping shit. Now when I read this, I did find it hilarious that a YouTuber was getting bent out of shape about who got the actual rights to it. Like I said, it's challenging, it's frustrating when people come along and steal your ideas or jump on something that you had first. But I looked into it as well and it's pretty true. Day of Dragons had 71,800,000 results, whereas the search term for Day of Dragons did have more, in 232 million. I think it's pretty safe to say that the term Harry Potter Day of Dragons really did help drive this game as well. It's just a shame that they've put all their weight and their muscle and they're willing to talk about it publicly behind a game that maybe they should have done a bit more research on. Like I said, I've done this as well. I've been guilty in the past. This is Atomic Heart, a game where it's a first-person shooter, very much Bioshock inspired, set by and developed by a Russian team with loads of crazy shenanigans going on. It appeared, I do believe, last year, and I showed it off quite a bit with trailers when it came out and spoke about how great it looked. I dug a little bit deeper though and discovered that there was a lot of problems and issues with this game as well. Again, with accusations that the game was more or less just an asset flip and that everything we'd seen in the trailer was pretty much just a very, very early version tech demo filled with nothing but assets. Unfortunately, it didn't stop there. I actually got a copyright strike, and believe it or not, my channel hasn't had too many of them in the last 4 years. Plenty of my games have been copyright demonetized, but strikes are a bit more harsh. 3 of them and my channel gets deleted. The game devs here watched my video and struck my video. They struck my channel for saying that I was causing slander, but everything I found was based on a lot of information uploaded on Reddit, as well as a whole other host of other stuff that I discovered. They eventually dropped it after back and forth. So Atomic Heart may still be an actual full game coming out, but it's gone pretty silent since then. So I totally get it. This isn't an attack on these YouTubers, but it is definitely a reminder to them and to fans. Don't believe everything you see on YouTube. One of the better examples of how development goes for games is something like Dead Matter. Very much a game still in development, funded by Kickstarters or Indiegogo, and pretty much got the backing of its fans, but it never claimed to have a finished product, and it's taken them 2 years to get to the stage where they might even have an alpha. They too used a bunch of assets from stores, but they've slowly started reworking it. They hired people to redo it, and they've pretty much replaced a lot of the content that was placeholder content with actual assets they've built, but they're still a long way from coming out in even early access. There's definitely some really good YouTubers like Amphomia, like Syntac, like these big guys here that really put a lot of time and effort into everything they do with their channel. They please lots and lots of their fans, and they're just like me and everyone else looking for something new and exciting and a bit different. On the flip side, of course, we have got lots of trashy YouTubers that absolutely use clickbait and should never be believed in a million Sundays for either stealing lots of other people's content or simply just being really crap at what they do and relying on nothing but clickbait titles and thumbnails. These are definitely the YouTubers you want to avoid. So yeah, it's pretty tough and it's pretty much a shame. I'm in the Discord now, and their message they put out early hours of this morning was, sorry for the ping all, but the YouTube streamer known as IGP just put out what he calls a true video about me and our game. In the last hour, we've had a lot of new users join our server, inciting panic and hate towards me and my staff and our game. I've had to turn off my messages as I'm getting messages calling me ghost, fake, scam artist, liar and other obscene things. How does someone with 1.4 million subscribers stoop so low to attack an indie developer who is only 2 weeks out with our Kickstarter campaign? I am appalled by this. Between the data of Scam's website, the Google Doc and now IGP's panic inciting YouTube video all within the last 2 weeks, I and my staff have been overwhelmed. We're trying to get things ready for beta this Saturday, but please forgive us if not as much is done as what we hoped, as we have been just slammed trying to answer questions. If you have any questions regarding this, please ask them in questions for Jao. It's pretty shitty that he's trying to blame just IGP and this whole situation from this video. Maybe if he'd actually spoke to IGP himself, he could have delayed a lot of this negativity towards him and maybe gave some real assurances that IGP wouldn't have had to have made a video like this. One of the biggest concerns is that they've banned certain questions regarding the actual concept of the game. They've deleted channels that had pertinent questions there, and people who have supposedly been asking good questions have been banned and kicked from Discord for apparently being troublemaking. This was before the video came out as well. It's safe to say that I think everyone should have maybe looked into Day of Dragons a little bit more in depth. With no history, the game developer has nothing to show on what he's ever worked on before, is a complete ghost, as you'll find out by watching IGP's video. It's pretty clear that maybe some more due diligence should have been done. Yes, you could argue that this is still an idea and that everyone who bought into this game believes in this idea, and that's okay. But for sure, his actions and the way he's acting now are definitely harming the rest of this game's development. So there we go, something interesting. Like I said, I did want to report on it. Eventually, I was going to do just a funny story about this and pretty much an update on what Day of Dragons has achieved in the last few days. I have got beta access, but I certainly won't be touching the game until we get some real information about where the development's going, who he's bringing on board, and how realistic is it going to be. So a cautionary tale, people. Support your YouTubers when they show you brand new games content. Be hyped and excited for it for sure, but always do your own research into something. Check the facts out, particularly when you're putting hundreds of dollars possibly into something like a Kickstarter. With more than 500 people pledging $225 towards their last big tier. And a lot of that has come off the back of YouTubers promoting this game and this project with maybe not fully looking at it. As ever, the best in survival game news and occasionally a little bit of drama. Make sure you subscribe to me and definitely call me out next time I accidentally promote a game that ends up being a bit of a cash grab. Daisy!